Hi, and welcome to this tutorial on how to set up pricing matrices. So it's one of the service types here. We have active service types. You can add new, look at the archive ones. You can restore them if you've archived them from here. If they're grayed out, it's because you have pricing matrices against these service types. So you'd have to go down to active here and archive the pricing matrices, and then you'll be able to, these will be ungrayed out. So what you can see here then in the next column is set prices. Okay, so you have, let's use our standard saloon here, and we go to set prices. So by default, we have the global account matrix. That's an account that you have no control over, but you can set one price for this vehicle type, standard saloon, across all of your customers, or you can actually go ahead and create. So you can select your customer account from here, and then set prices for a specific customer account. You can also set by zones, so you can select any zone that you've created in the system. So you can have, so the Hong Kong airport, for example, you could have a different rate picking up at an airport if you created that shape. So that would be done under here. So you could create a separate pricing matrix for the same customer from different pickup points. If you have set up a global account matrix, then actually you can select the account that you want to create the prices for, and you can copy from one account to another. So I could copy all of the data from the global account matrix back to my customer account, and then once you click save, that's created. Let's look at the detail here now. So we have minimum fare, and we have three columns. We have our account, our vendor column is your affiliate prices. Okay, so you can have a standard affiliate price. If you don't intend to push any work to an affiliate, then you don't need to look at that column or worry about it. And then what are you going to pay your driver? Okay. So we have minimum fare for this example, £50, dollars, euros, whatever currency you're operating in. And the minimum fare for the driver will probably look at something like that. Okay. Then how many miles or kilometers does this include? Maybe it's none, right? But you can say it includes the first 10 kilometers. But for the driver, maybe he has to do slightly more. So there's a margin that you've made here. So you've got a margin in this row here. You've also clawed back some more profit. Some customers operate vehicle surcharges, so they have the same rates for all of their vehicles, and they have a one-off charge. So here we're doing standard saloon, but if this was a people mover, like a minivan, 5-6 seats, they may have exactly the same prices for the minivan, but the surcharge would be, I don't know, 10 euros, pounds, dollars, whatever. Okay. So it's just a one-off charge, okay, so it doesn't calculate against any distance or time. So waiting time per minute, okay, so if you have an hourly rate, just divide it by 60, so we'll just say it's 50 cents a minute. Driver may get 35. Wait and return formula. So if you have somebody picking up, if you have a car picking up at the hotel going to an airport, and two people get in the car, but when they get to the airport, one gets out and goes into the airport and the other one goes back to the hotel, that's called a wait and return. So if you wanted, if a booking was made like that, if you had 200% in there, that would be 100% out and 100% back, okay? But sometimes companies offer a discount for those sort of journeys on the return leg, so they might offer half fare back. Okay, so it'd be 150%, 100% for the outbound, 50% for the return leg. Okay, and you'd need to declare something similar for the driver. You could again make a small margin there as well, right? Rounding charge. So when you produce the price to the customer, do you want to round up to the nearest single unit? or the nearest €5, dollars, pounds, whatever. Okay, most of the time it's up to the nearest 1 unit. For the driver, you wouldn't need to round up. So again, there's another margin there. So what you can see is you're making not just margin off the distance, but actually all the way through the process, you're making small incremental profits on what you pay the driver. So the next one is the enhanced pricing matrix. This is optional, okay? But you may have an agreement with your corporate customer to say, well, the waiting time starts, we'll give you the first 10 minutes free, okay? And you'll say to the driver, for this customer account, it's the first 15 minutes free. So actually, you can see again, margin, profit. What's the minimum waiting time? So we've given you 10 minutes for free, but if you keep us waiting longer than 10 minutes, let's say 12, 13 minutes, we're going to charge you for half an hour. Okay. All depends on the SLA that you've agreed with your customer. Again, the driver you would leave at 0 again, so there's more profit here. You've just claimed 20 minutes there and 5 minutes here. You're 25 minutes waiting time profit. Okay. And the increments. So how does the waiting time increase? Does it increase by the minute, or does it increase by the 5 minutes, or the 10, or is it quarter hours every 15 minutes? So I'll give an example. Customer keeps the car waiting for 31 minutes, right? So with 15 in there, it would go up to the next 15, which is 45, obviously. So it would charge 45 minutes waiting time. Coming across to the driver again, sorry, just jumped ahead of myself there. Come across to the driver, so it goes up in increments of 1. So again, you've got another 14 minutes there, so you can really see the profit starting to build. So a via charge, a stop fee, is where a customer books from a collection to a destination, and they then add another address in between. So the system will calculate the distance between the points, that's fine, but you may want to add an inconvenience fee. It's normally between 5 and 10 euros per stop. So if they make one stop en route, it's €5 extra plus the distance. If they make 2 stops, it's 10 euros extra plus the distance. And then obviously the driver, you don't have to pay them anything for a stop fee. So again, more margin, more profit. Traffic factor, so this is so the data that we pull when we're calculating routes uses Google Maps. And you can affect the distance. So if we say there's a distance between the collection and destination is 10 miles or 10 kilometers, and I put 10% in here, it's automatically going to calculate on 10 plus 10%, right? So 11 miles or kilometers, and then it's going to start working through the price after that before anything. I've seen it as high as 20, 25%. I think you should always have something in here, because I think this, especially on the larger vehicle types that can't go the same routes as a standard saloon, like a minibus or a coach, it would be good to put, I don't know, 15% in there for something like that. But for a vehicle, for a standard saloon, I'd always put something in, even if it's just 5%. And then for the driver, no traffic factor. So if they've done 10 miles or kilometers, that's what they're going to get paid. Okay. So again, before we start to calculate prices, do you want to round up the distance? So if Google says it's 10.3 miles, including the traffic factor, do you want to round up to the nearest 1 mile? So it shows 11 to the customer, right? Or the nearest 5, so it shows 15. We'll just go back to 11 for a minute. And then on the driver, leave that as 0. And again, another margin. The time factor, so the time that Google says it takes to do this journey, I've seen this normally around the 20 to 25%. If you don't charge an hourly rate, it's not going to affect the price, but it will give a better estimate to the customer when they receive the email or SMS confirmation of the booking, because it's going to give them the estimated time duration of travel, including this 25%. If you do charge an hourly rate, then obviously it's going to add on 25%. So if Google says the journey is 1 hour long, then it will show and charge 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay. And again, same like here, the rounding up distance, we come to rounding time. Do you really want to show 27 minutes? Or do you want to take it up to the nearest 10? So it will show 30 minutes. Okay. Gratuities, so they can be fixed. It's just a one-off charge. It's optional. You can use it or not use it. Again, for fuel charge, sometimes this is used where there's been a spike in fuel prices because there's been something going on in the Middle East, maybe, so they can kind of fluctuate on a daily basis the prices by coming here and making these changes. Moving on to the next section, distance bands. So it says the bands below start after the included distance above, right? So if we go back to pricing matrix, you see that we had our minimum fare and we included 10 units, kilometers or miles, right? So where it says 0 here, it's 0 from that 10, okay? It's not from nothing, it's not from 0. And you can click on these and you can change them to whatever you want, okay? So you just change the value here, click on save, and it will change all of these through here for you. Obviously, if your distance included is set to 0 here, then this actually does start at 0, okay? So what this allows you to do is kind of build out a sliding scale, so the longer the vehicle's on the road. So I've got 2 euros a kilometre here, and then from 10 to 74, it could be the same. So you can change these to whatever you want, or you could bring it down slightly. There's a couple of test values in there, which is fine, but obviously the longer the passengers in the vehicle, it's probably on a motorway, it's running at optimum performance, maximum miles per gallon, so you can kind of build out sliding scale. It just makes you more competitive as well. And again, for the driver, you can build that sliding scale out so that they get paid according to the distance they traveled. And again, there's more margin there. Hourly bands, if these are set to 0, again, you can change these, okay. So actually the view you would have here is slightly different. This is our test environment, so you'd probably have 3 or 4 entries here. We've just added some in previous demonstrations. But if this is left blank, then the system will not charge hourly rate, okay. It just charges on the distance. So when you finish, click on save. And you can see that we have, so distance or distance and time, it's the same thing. And as I said, if the hourly rates are 0, then it just uses this. If they're not 0, then obviously it uses distance and time at the same time. So let's just have a quick look at our active matrix. And this is the one that we just submitted here, okay. And you can go ahead and archive that if you don't need it, and you can just see our global prices for all of our vehicles are there. You can also filter by zone and by customer. You'll see an option here to copy the rate. So actually, I can copy the standard estate car on the global account to one of my other accounts if I wanted to, and I could copy it across. So instead of you continually entering data, you can swap rates between customers and vehicles. If you want to share, so if this was a customer account here, and you needed to share that with the customer, then you could click on the copy link, and then you paste that into an email, and that will send the prices link to the customer. So they can click on the link and they'll see a nice page with the prices that you've proposed for them, including any fixed prices here. And that concludes our session on the pricing matrix. Thank you.